The flats at the low end of the sand were due, and I took them today on a spring tide, since the flat does not uncover the whole of itself on any other. The morning came in cold and clean, the winter's haze gone off the water at last, and I could see further from here than I have since the autumn. I came in on the last of the ebb, and ran the boat up at the low end of the sand, and now the ebb is done and turned, and I am sitting in her lee out of the wind, with the ledger on my knee. The water is a long way off down the flat, coming back at its own pace. There is nothing left of the day that wants doing, and the light is the long kind this time of year, still well up, the afternoon nowhere near finished with itself. When I landed, the horned hare was at the reed line. I have not had sight of it in some years, and never for long, and today was no different in that. It was 40 paces off where the reeds begin out of the sand, and it came up on its haunches to the noise of the landing, and I stood, with the last of the gear in my hands, and let it look. Nothing about it has changed since I last had it on the page. The same brown of the ordinary kind, with the grayer cast along the back, the ears held up and apart, the way I have them drawn, and between them the horn, a single point rising straight, a finger long or a little more, no branch to it, and no curve. The hare did not go off. It went down where it sat, back into the reeds it had come up out of, and I finished with the gear, got the board out from under the thwart, and walked out onto the flat, since the water was already at its lowest and would not stay so. I had last year's rough of Sable Marsh along, folded soft, and drew this year's beside it in pencil, the two on the one sheet. Where the ebb had let go, I marked its line off the 3 posts at the top of the beach, and then I went down off the sand onto the black. The flat has a pleasant green smell at the bottom of the tide that it has at no other hour, wet peat and weed with the salt under both. I would have it at vesper if it would keep, which it never has. The channels came next, 6 of them this year, running out across the marsh toward the west, where last year's sheet has 7, 2 of the old ones having found each other somewhere in the winter, and I put each down from its head to where it loses itself in the reeds, and drew the new joining as it lay. The bottoms of them still had a thread of water going out at dead low. I stepped across where the thread was narrowest, and got a boot in it where it was not. The ground between the channels wanted the walking it always wants, boot by boot, since it gives no sign from above of what it will do underneath. Where it carried me, I put down that it carried. Where it took me to the ankle, I put that down too, and went round. It took me 3 times, all in the one stretch out past the 4th channel, and that stretch is marked. A flat gets charted with the boots as much as with the board, and mine are black to the ankle now, and will stay so until the water has them on the way home, and some of it will be on the floor at vesper regardless. Coming back along the 3rd channel, I crossed my own line from an hour before, and my prints were already filled and level, so that I had to look twice to be sure they were mine. The ground fills in behind a man out there, faster than it lets him through. Following a channel in among the reeds is a walk with the black underfoot, and the pale all round at the shoulder, the reeds being last season still at this end of the year, gone the color of old rope through the winter, and down at the foot of them, where they come out of the black, there is the first of this year's green, a finger high, which the boots find before the eye does. The small birds that work a flat when it drains kept ahead of me the whole way in, running and stopping, and going up a few yards and coming down again, never far off and never close. The 6th channel ran further than the rest and took me clear across, the sand down at this end being only a stride or 2 wide between the 2 waters, with the reeds running the whole way. I came out at the west edge, with the last of the channel under my boots, and stood a minute, with open water in front of me, and out on it, low, the line of drift bar, up for the first time in a while, with the light lying along it. It was no thicker at that distance than a pencil line laid on the sheet. I stood there longer than the minute, since the flat had given me the time, and there was nothing pressing behind me, with the water going on out to the west and the bar lying on it. And then I put the last of the channel down and came back through the reeds by the way I had gone in. I took the rack line on the way back up the sand toward the boat, since it lay on the way, and the last big water had left it higher up the beach than the look of the beach would have told me, weed and small stuff, and a length of pale wood I turned over with my boot and left. That was the flat done, all of it, at about the hour I had thought it would be. I ate on the gunwale what I had brought, with the water a long way off, and the flat lying open and drying in the light. Then I got down into the lee with the ledger, put the pencil in my pocket, and took out the pen, and I have been here since. All day I was in among the reeds with my head down, my eyes on the ground and the board, and from where I am sitting, they are in front of me at a distance, and I can see the whole line of them at once, standing the way they always stand, moving a little at the top where the air gets into them, and not at all lower down, with the channels running out between them, black to the water. The sound of them comes to me close, a dry rubbing when the air moves them, and a wet sound lower down, that is, the channels doing something I cannot see, and none of it from anywhere I could point at. East across the water, the high wood at home stands up dark out of the sea, all of the island that shows from this shore, the arms and the beaches gone under from here, and the wood sitting above them, on nothing. The afternoon sun is on it now, from behind me, and more of the island shows than showed this morning. The wind has gone round a point since I sat down, and is on my other cheek now. My hands are cold from the pen, and I keep them in my coat between sentences, and the ink is slow, but it is going. The small birds had been working the drain line all afternoon, as they had all morning, and then at some point while I wrote, they were up the beach from it and working the sand, and when I next looked down the flat, the thread in the nearest channel had turned and was running in toward me. The water has come up over the lower flat since, level and without any edge to it, the sand going dark in a line ahead of it, and the water arriving after to account for the dark. The channels I drew this morning filled first, from their bottoms up, and the ground between them stood a while as islands, and then went under, and now the whole face of the flat is one wetting sound, and under that, the small sound of the sand giving up its air. Everything I put down this morning is under water. The sheet has it the way it lay at dead low. The boat has an hour, perhaps a little more, before it lifts her. Then it is the oars, and a cold pull home in the last of the long light. The stove will be cold when I get in, and it is the first thing I will see to. The posts will keep at the top of the beach until I want them again, and the two sheets will go into the roll together, last year's and this. The fair copy will keep for a wet day, when the stove is going for the room, and the air in it is dry enough for ink, and there is no reason to be out. The birds are at the new edge, a little nearer than they were, and the sand on either side of the nearest channel is still dry.